إخواني أخواتي الحضور الكريم، السلام عليكم ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته. The lecture today is part of a series of lectures about Aqidah theology. Is how do we believe, how we practice Islam. Aqidah is different from other belief or other practicing for Islam, like Salah and Zakah and all other Islamic rules that we follow, imitate Maraja, scholars. But in Aqidah, we have to understand ourselves not necessarily imitate. We may seek books that make it easier for us to understand. But theology is important to, because it's a relationship between yourself and Allah directly. That you believe in Allah, for example, Tawheed, theism, oneness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's why the famous chapter in Quran, and you must recite it, all of you, in at least one of your prayer during the day, Surah Al-Tawheed أو سورة الإخلاص. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد. من يكمل؟ شباب تقروها؟ يلا كملوا شباب. قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد. طبعا this recommended chapter of the Quran, at least after Surah Al-Fatiha, once a day you have to recite it. It's very recommended. And if you do both rak'ah with this chapter, it's still recommended. It's okay. If you do two other surahs after Fatiha, some scholars say you probably better to avoid. So the lecture today is the three-part, mainly an introduction, followed by talk about searching for God. Why do we search for God? Why human being generally looking for God subhanahu wa ta'ala, and the consequence of knowing God in our lives. What is the consequence of knowing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? And then theism, how to reach theism from two secure paths. We'll talk about that in detail, inshallah ta'ala. After we mentioned the important chapter of Quran, Surah Al-Ikhlas, Surah Al-Tawheed, Imam Ali alayhi salam, in a very important khutbah, said, أول الدين, he defined التوحيد. He said, أول الدين معرفته. The foremost in religion is the acknowledgement of Him. وكمال معرفته التصديق به. The perfection of acknowledging Him is to testify Him. وكمال التصديق به توحيده. The perfection of testifying Him is to believe in His oneness. وكمال توحيده الإخلاص له. You see, one after another, one connected to the other. وكمال توحيده الإخلاص له. The perfection of believing in His oneness is to regard Him pure. وكمال الإخلاص له نفي الصفات عنه. And the perfection of His purity is to deny His attributes. يعني, don't give Him attribute that's not belong to Him, not part of His attributes, subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now, why do we search for, or we think about a creator or a God? What is it inside us, promote us or encourage us to search for God, subhanahu wa ta'ala? No, one of the important things is human beings tend to have what we call keen to know or seek more knowledge, explore. The human being tend to have that, and this is part of our nature. Exploring things around him. Why, for example, do I have all this universe, all these skies and stars, etc.? Trying to explore. This, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala put in ourselves, encourage us to looking for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and searching for God. Let me give you an example. If you get invited to a big ceremony or party or big event or dinner, let's say, and that dinner actually was, the person who invited you is so generous, and he put all beautiful food in front of you. You will have a sense of gratitude to that person, and you will, try to give him a status that's higher than used to be in your mind. So every time, let's say, he's invited you to a different event, every time he become more generous, more and more. So you will build up a gratitude toward that person. And that sense of gratitude, one of the things that actually in our nature as a human, if we try to communicate with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in a way that we feel whatever He is providing us is a gift. That's why we're searching for that oneness who's given us all of that gift. Subhanahu wa ta'ala give us, let's say, everything surrounding us is a gift. No matter how we understand a gift is. Some people think that only good things are a gift. Even bad things, because you don't know on the long term how these bad things are turned out to be good things in the future. So let's say I am in a traffic light, and the traffic light, I missed it by a second. And I always say, oh, I should, if I had 1 second, I could have been early a bit to my work. Now I don't know if I did manage to get that second, or the person in front of me managed to let me through, let's say, no matter how. You feel that sense of dissatisfaction, isn't it? But the other way, actually, might be Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala put that barrier in front of you, or delay your reach to your destination. That's actually turned out to be in your favor by avoiding, let's say, accidents in the route or some traffic jam or whatever. So all of these, whatever good or bad things we call things good and bad, but everything from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is good. Nothing bad from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But our problem is our standard change, not necessarily the right standard. So we have to watch ourselves when we look to things provided by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because everything coming from Him is good things. Now some people will try to look for, winning and losing. Now if you are traveling somewhere and you found on the route of travel 3 routes reaching that destination, you don't know, you've never been to that destination. So when you try to choose the right path to take, you will ask so many questions. You will try to explore those routes before you go through them by asking those experts who knew those paths, let's say, or they have been through them. In order, you'll do all that research. All that research you do is to try to choose the right path to reach safely to your destination. That's because a sense inside us that we would like to be always the winner by taking the shortest route, the easiest route, etc. Again, that by reaching Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to the right path, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala يقول في كتابه الكريم فبشر عبادي الذين يستمعون القول فيتبعون أحسنه. Now this is an example. I mentioned that the three paths you're choosing. Therefore give good news to my servant, those who listen to the word, then follow the best of it. Now we do listen that these are three paths, yes, but which one you choose the best after researching. That's why we search for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in order. There are reasons, there are so many reasons. These are only examples. Why do we search for a God? Now, the next, let's say, bullet point I want to highlight here is what are the consequences of knowing God in our lives? One point is actually theism, or believing in one God, actually help us to advance with knowledge. Now, one would say, well, a lot of scientists around us are not believer, and most of our science developed by non-believer. Now, if you look at those, you call them non-believer, that doesn't mean that they actually doesn't believe in one God. That's one thing. They may call God different names. They may call their God nature, but actually they believe in that power. So no one can say they don't have a God, but the problem is what they name that God is. That's their, mistakenly go and choose a name that not necessarily the right name. But if you look how Muslim or believers throughout the history, how they devoted themselves to develop the sciences. If you look at the golden age of Islam, how we have scholars in not only in religion, but also, let's say, example, if you have heard of Avicenna, Ibn Sina, we call him Avicenna. He was a scholar not only in medicine, he was a scholar in philosophy, in theology, in so many, in even astronomy, etc. To begin with, is a scholar of religion. He devoted himself to develop science. Now, if we have that motivation inside us, this is one thing that's strengthening us to develop, to develop our society, contribute to the society to be wealthier and more advanced. Example from Quran Al-Kareem, الذين آمنوا ولم يلبسوا إيمانهم بظلم أولئك لهم الأمن. Now this also not only give you advancing in science, but also give you security. Those who believe and do not mix up their faith with iniquity, those are they who shall have security. Those believers have also security. When you have security in yourself, you will advance. People who hesitant, if you see some Muslim nowadays, they are hesitant to show their belief to others because that sense of insecure inside us. Islam and belief meant to give us that sense of security, to show what we believe in. You are as a youth brought up in this country, actually you have advantage in terms of the society give you the chance to explore your belief, to show your belief without a sense of ashamed or being shy of exploring that. And that opportunity actually not all of us take advantage, and we don't we shy, for example, going to the mosque, putting turba to pray on, because we brought up by hiding this belief. And nowadays, in such society with multi-faith, we shouldn't be practicing such things. We should show what we believe, and because that's a sense of security and self-confidence. The second point is, or consequence of theism itself, is endeavors and hopes. When people know Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala deeply inside them, they manage to get through difficulties and turbulence in their life much better than those who do not believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's why most of the sociologists and psychologists think that in their research, those people who have a connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala through the religion, they tend to have less problem with depression and suicide, etc. So again, that gives you stability in your mind and emotion. That's the second consequence of being a believer. The third one, now, a sense of responsibility. Now, people who have a strong relationship with Allah and believe in God, for example, let's give an example. I've put a doctor here. If a doctor have a belief in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he will have inside himself toward his patient not only professional relationship, but he feel responsible for their life in a way that thinking that I am a messenger of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to deliver a cure for the disease for the patient. So I am the hand of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to cure my patient. If I do believe in that, I will never ever be negligent one day toward my patient, because I have very strong responsibility. That responsibility not only by professional standard, but actually by also a more spiritual connection, and usually tend to be even stronger than any other standard, because these are Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala a relationship, not a human standard or laws. These are give me more responsibility, and I will deliver more, I will practice better if I have that sense inside me. People, again, I mentioned already, those who know Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala closely, they have much better peace of mind, and they tend to be more stable in their relationship, even inside their homes. People who believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that's why if Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that if someone came to ask for your daughter, and he's from those who good believer and good ethics, you don't reject their asking. That's because actually they have strength inside them, and they have peace of mind, and they will be secure enough to look after your daughter. And that's a very important aspect of manhood. Any person who have belief and strong belief, he will deliver better. That's why we tend to accept them as a friend, as a wife or a husband, or as a brother or as a friend. Any relationship, we tend to choose those who have a strong belief and relationship with Allah, because they have a peace of mind. And you don't want someone who's unstable to have such relationship, don't you? You tend to choose the one who's really stable to help you, rather than make you even more struggle in this life. الآية الكريمة in this aspect says الذين آمنوا ولم يلبسوا إيمانهم بظلم أولئك لهم الأمن وهم مهتدون. Those who believe and do not cloak their faith with iniquity, those are they for whom is security and they are guided aright. Now the last thing, now I mentioned theism could be in two secure paths. You could reach theism, tawheed in itself. One is from inside, from within yourself, and this is in Arabic called al-ma'rifa al-huduriyya, al-fitriyya. Those people who, I give you an example, I put this picture, it was let's say the first human being on earth, before even probably religion, tried hard to find or search for God. Now, if you have not had any influence by anybody or any teaching by anyone to reach the status of belief you're having now, you will find a way to reach this by your nature, yourself. You'll reach that without teaching. That's a tendency of human being. If you don't have any factor outside yourself to influence your belief or teach you, you will eventually reach Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is called al-ma'rifa al-huduriyya or al-fitriyya. This is the shortest way to reach oneness and tawheed. The second path, which is usually, they tend to be longer, yes, but probably more enlightened way, by observing the universe, for example. When you look around yourself, you look to the tree, you look to the different animals, you look to the deep oceans, all these creatures around you. By close looking, they will direct you to one creator. That creator who have so much skills that beyond human ability to imagine. Hence the human try to explore, for instance, trying to explore the human body. They haven't reached actually so many things in the human body that's still ambiguous and not clear, and spend day and night. You've seen in COVID time how much they spend time to try to invent the vaccine for COVID, for example. They stopped all researches in any other field and they focus on one thing. Despite all of that effort of the world, they took them months to reach a vaccine. So by exploring our surrounding, we will reach Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, even though the way is a bit longer than it should be. As long as you take that path and try to reach, you will be guided, you will be rewarded by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that's essentially, this is what I've just already said. You look at the purpose and observe all as your surrounding to reach the Creator subhanahu wa ta'ala. I would like to listen to some of the youth here in this room about asking or commenting on what has been said, because that's the only way I can tell that you have engaged with my talk, and I don't want to take longer than that, because I believe that the longer it is, the less will be observing my talk. And thank you for listening.